Welcome back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tucker.
And I am Lundy.
Today we're going to be going from Monoko Station up to 2 Axons right before we get to, we can't really talk about what comes next because Eric hasn't gotten
cool
there
things.
yet.
So.
Yeah. Cool things start happening.
I have an inkling
Yeah.
of what's going to happen, but yeah.
And we're going to Old Lumiere today, so that's a gorgeous location. But I love the start of how this section begins because we're at Monoko Station. We get to meet Monoko. It's his station. So it's a train station frozen mid-fracture. And it's all in snow, frozen, and ice. Like this, but with like pops of red. This feels like an inversion of the red-white theme, where now the white is the dominant color with hits of red. And so I didn't know if it was I'm sure it's playing off of that theme of like loss and innocence and stuff like that we've been coming back to every once in a while. But then we meet Monoko, and by the way, this character, I don't know how to describe him. He's like a monk, a gestural monk who's an owl. I think
he gives me baboon vibes. Yeah,
he's kind of a baboon. He's
Rafiki-like.
Yeah. So I love Monoko. I love that. I love his voice actor. I love the way that he talks. I love his character design. I think he's interesting for a gestural because up till now all the gestuals we've met have been kind of like less intelligent and kind of silly. And Monoko seems more intelligent, still very gesturally in some ways, but kind of stoic almost, which is atypical for what we've seen of gestural so far.
Yeah, and also have we talked about Noco on this in our conversation?
We mentioned Noco for a minute
little.
because him growing and fighting him and stuff.
So Noco from when you pick up Mael is outside, but Monoko is Noco's guardian.
Yeah.
So
He's
Noco comes back in this section, and I love Noco. He's adorable and fun, and just has his fun minion speak.
That's like sort of French and sort of English and sort of gibberish.
Yeah. So when we meet Monoko, though, we get this anachronistic lo-fi distortions that start his songs, wah, 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 that push into an upbeat gypsy jazz song that's seemingly influenced by this Django Reinhardt from France music, maybe, with licks of French blues led by a tenor saxophone accompanied by a small ensemble and a synth piano. It's punchy, flavorful, and expressive, and it definitely it contrasts with the entire score up until this moment. You know you love this character as soon as you hear the music.
Yeah, up till this point, up to as far as I've played in the game, this is my favorite song so far. You meet Monoko, and he's like, all right, let's do a little friend battle, because, that's what Justrals do. And then the wow, 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 and then it starts going crazy on the saxophone, and I paused the game after 10 seconds, and I texted all of you, and I was like, this is my favorite song in the game. I had the tiniest sample, and I was like, I love all of this so much. It's so good. I've listened to it on repeat for 3 days. It's my new favorite song. I love it so much.
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole on what is this song inspired by? Then I found gypsy jazz, and that was a whole thing. And
it's my new favorite name for a genre of music. Gypsy jazz? How have I never discovered gypsy jazz before? That's the best name I've ever heard.
Have any of you met the gypsies? There were a bunch of gypsies in Portugal where I used to live for a couple of years, and they're a special crowd. They're
Did
a
they
special
play jazz?
people. They did not. They tried to steal things out of my pocket.
That's it. It's all only gypsy jazz. Try to play anything else around them? Not having it.
Yeah. I did, however, buy a lot of pirated DVDs off of them in Europe for €1 each. They had this elaborate system where they, because the authorities would sometimes come into their gypsy festivals to put a kibosh to the illegal things that they were doing.
To stop them from playing jazz. Continue.
Yeah. And so I noticed they had an entire system, all of these gypsy fairs, where they'd have line of sight throughout the entire festival or the entire fair. And so if they see authorities at any entrance, they would make some kind of signal. Caw-caw! And then all of them
danger.
And then all of them would start unrolling clothes that they had stolen from stores and stuff over the top of the pirated DVDs.
So sneaky.
Or they would put it into their car and stuff. Like everything would just be, they'd wash the whole thing within like 30 seconds. They had a very sophisticated system. I also bought shoes from them that was like, I haggled them down like 35 euros off of the MSRP because they had stolen it. So, I figured any money to them was good money. The key is to only bring the amount of money you're willing to spend so that they can't see how much is in your wallet and say that they want more. There's a whole thing with gypsies. I got to know a lot of gypsies.
It's a whole thing with gypsies. Quote from Shan. Yeah.
It's a whole thing. They're a very unique culture.
They're always stealing shoes and playing jazz.
They steal so much shit. So you have to walk through these gypsy fairs with your hands in your pockets because they would just they'd send their kids out while they are selling things. The kids would run out and try to steal things out of people's pockets so that by the time you're leaving the gypsy fair, they'd be selling people's phones back to them or to anybody, right? It's the whole it's an organized crime culture. Like this is their whole thing. The government tried giving them housing. They abandoned it. I think they ended up selling it or something, and then they went back to living on the streets. All of them owned giant white vans without windows, so we all thought we were going to get kidnapped every time they drove by. I don't know why I'm going into this. Gypsies, man.
I was say
it's just not something that comes up that often.
Shan's
doesn't come up that
holding
often.
on to this gypsy conversation for a while. He's just been waiting for an opportunity.
One of the biggest culture shocks I ever experienced in Portugal was like seeing gypsies wash their kids in an oil drum. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm experiencing that kind of poverty now. It's different poverty. All right. So Monoko, though, he's a gestural who has a scholarly manner, but a bloodthirsty spirit. He's kind of a monk owl with a bell staff for warding off nevrons. He can transform by collecting nevron feet. So this whole bell staff for warding off nevrons, it sounds like this is kind of rooted in French lore for bells that were used superstitiously to ward off evil. Yeah. Maybe that. And then Monoko, so after you fight him, he, Verso tries recruiting him and he rejects his call to action based on previous expeditions with Verso. But then Verso offers him a lot of fighting and death and blood and vengeance on,
Well, hang on.
He's just all in.
I knew
So-
Eric would have the direct quote.
So hang on.
Hilarious
So what
part
happened?
of that.
It's so funny. It's because there's this conversation. First of all, we just glossed over how Monoko collects gestural or Nevron feet to turn into them. You find a Nevron and he's like, gotta take their feet so I can. It's like, what is that all about? That's the weirdest thing, and I love it. Super creative and strange.
There's a term for this. I'm gonna look into it, but it's the term for like collecting memento mori, or it's like collecting things from the people you kill.
What's the director?
like every
Quentin
serial
Tarantino.
killer
It's
ever.
called Quentin Tarantino disease when you're always collecting feet. That's what that is, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's definitely it.
So
Anyway, you were saying.
I did write down the quote. So hang on there. So what happens is Verso and Monoko are talking. Verso tries to get Monoko to join them by saying like, hey, don't you recognize Mael? And then Monoko goes, yeah, but Blood gives him another reason why he can't. And Monoko says something to the effect of, I will never join you again. That's the direct quote. He says, I will never join you again. Not after what happened last time. And then Verso goes, there will be lots of fighting. And then Monoko's like, oh yeah, okay. Just like, he's like, let's
You
go.
son of a bitch, I'm in.
It was just this like complete hard 180, but the deadpan delivery of both actors, there's like a little bit of back and forth where it's like there will be lots of fighting. It's like, oh yes, okay, let's go. Like the timing was perfect, the delivery, like this just flat delivery of both of the actors was perfect, and it was a genuine like laugh out loud moment for me where I was like genuinely well written comedy, super funny.
They focus so hard on like absolutely nailing the entrance of Monoko, so like everything about him is amazing.
Yeah, he's the best.
One of the other things that I really love about this introduction of him is when it does explain that it's like, yeah, he takes their feet and then he turns into them. And the only explanation that it gives of it is Verso is like, I don't know how it works. Don't ask me to explain it. And then it's just like, oh, okay. Like, you know.
Like, all right.
So it's a soft face
value.
It's just some hand waving.
Yeah. And
That's
like,
okay.
They just straight up, they're like, I don't know. This is what he does. Here you go. And
they wrote it on, and like their dream board, like they had it on a sticky note on the wall as like one of the ideas, and they just they ran out of time. Like, this one, he collects feet. Perfect. Run. Let's go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even need to. There's no explanation of how or why. It's just he does it.
It's better
Here it
without
is.
it.
Let's go. Don't worry about it. Like,
yeah. All right. So after we get Monoko, we head back to the camp. Is there any like character vignettes that you want to call out here, or should we move past this?
There is one short one. Well, there's a couple actually. There's a couple good ones. I like when he talks to so there's a few things. I have like 3 things I want to talk about. One of the things is I like how it's starting to establish different types of connections with different characters. So when Verso talks to Ciel, they are always like swapping stories and trying to get know each other better that way, which makes sense for Ciel and Verso, as they're both like experiences matter to them. And then when you talk to Lune, she's always asking questions and wanting to answer questions. So you ask questions back and forth. And then with Lune, it seems like a lot of the time they talk about Lumiere and specifically Mael and why she left. And so they commiserate about, Verso talks about when he was in Lumiere, the things that he loved there. And Mael talks about, her experience there. And so they talk mostly about Lumiere. And then Esquier, there's no rules. They talk about whatever with Esquier. And then with
things
Monoko,
that make him
it's usually
sad. Francois.
things that make him sad. Francois, yeah. So I like that they're developing this dynamic between like the different, it makes these characters kind of like, as an inquisitive person, Lune, of course, is asking questions. And as a person with like a storied past who wants to get to know someone in a more intimate way, Ciel is more about telling stories and receiving stories. And Mael is working through some stuff and wants to understand her purpose here in this world. And so she talks about her past and learns more about Verso's past and from their common connection, which is Lumiere. So I like that a lot. It's a good storytelling device that kind of keeps these characters not in boxes, but keeps them on a track. So you kind of like have a guided way to experience them.
Yeah, I think starting now, we can start unlocking their side quests. So each one has a different side quest that can pop up. And you find out of these side quests through interacting with them. So my first playthrough, I did not build any relationships. I just ran through.
I didn't know about them, yeah.
Yeah, and then second playthrough started to like actually talk to them, and each of them has, I think, 6 or 7 levels of relationship that you can build with them, and part of that is these different side quests, which is really, I don't know, it's just a super cool mechanic. It's not just hey, here's a side quest available, go get it and then go do it and come back. It's very hidden and feels really meaningful when you get there because you've already built this relationship. The side quest is not necessarily just a fetch quest. It's I'm going to go do this for a member of my party. And so it's just a really cool mechanic that I wanted to call out that I haven't really seen in any other games.
Story and character driven quests.
Yeah.
There's also lore that you find out about these characters by interacting with them. You peel back some of these layers and find the true depth that they wrote into these characters, because each conversation, it goes a little bit deeper as you build that relationship level and unlock these new abilities, and then get these quests that you're able to go on, which like I usually like to just interact with characters in games like this just because I want to try to understand and get the lore and things like that. But the fact that there's additional benefits beyond that is something that is at least unique to me. Like I hadn't seen that before, to where it's like, yeah, just talk to this person and you'll unlock a sweet move, and so
yeah. And I'm sure that they're doing this because they needed to create an incentive structure for you to not just blow by the relationship mechanic, which means that they specifically think it's important to engage with it, even though it's optional, because it adds to your investment in these characters in case they want to tug at something subversive like killing off Gustav.
Yeah. Just on that same note, Shan, I just finished my third playthrough this last weekend. And so this is the first time I went through all the conversations with all of them to their max level, and it completely changed my thoughts in Endgame. And we won't talk about it for Eric's sake, but I mean, completely changed my thoughts. And
this time writing notes for this section especially, it made me realize like they are establishing arguments for how the game resolves, and so you need to do the legwork of investing now so that you understand the climax. All right, so after this we head to Old Lumiere. It's a fractured city filled with Nevrons from which Lumiere broke off. It kind of appears aesthetically like a Death Stranding Void Out with all these floating rocks and stuff. You got those vibes, Tucker?
Yeah, I definitely got those vibes. And then, I mean, we're going to Old Lumiere to find the Painteress's heart. And this is like, so there's this very clear objective, but it's interesting when you get to Old Lumiere. There's floating buildings. There's these giant shining swords, which
that seem to be dripping with like lava-like light. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so this is like like this place immediately feels evocative of a cemetery, even though you don't see tombstones or anything like that. It's deeply desaturated, death everywhere. It just feels like there are revenants like roaming this area that own it, and so it doesn't belong to humans anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. I had to step away for 2 seconds, but I missed one thing I wanted to talk about at the camp. One more quick thing. Esquier, you have a conversation with Esquier that is one of my favorites with him in the game, because you go up to Esquier and he's like, I'm sad. And you go, what's wrong, Esquier? And he goes, And he like won't talk to you, and he gets all huffy and grumpy. And then Verso finally he goes, Esquier, are you sad that I got an armband and you didn't? And Esquier's just over here in a corner just like, yes. And so that's when he gets he's like, but your arm is huge. We can't wrap it around. And so they get him an Expedition 33 wristband, but they like wrap it around his head, kind of like a little headband, eye patch kind of a thing. And then he's just tickled and happy again. I love every single interaction and word of dialogue that comes from Esquier. He's fantastic. I'm sorry. Now we can continue. We're back in Old Lumiere and it's awesome.
All right. So this place feels contrasted to the Forgotten Battlefield. So we talked about how that area specifically as a setting was working on the immediate aftermath and grief and distress that Mael was feeling because of Gustav's death. And now we're to the Forgotten Battlefield with all this like death, loss, melancholy. And so it feels like it's more capturing the grief part of loss, and continuing Mael's inner grief and journey after losing Gustav. I love that the settings are expressing what the characters are feeling. I think that's brilliant storytelling.
Yeah, it's not super subtle. I'd say it's like medium subtle. It's not there if you're not looking for it, but if you're like kind of trying to think about like, okay, why is this the area? Then it's like, oh, it's because of, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's just good shorthand for like, this is what the characters are feeling.
Instead of just like rain. You know what rain means.
Yeah, rain means sad. Rain means funeral.
Yeah. All right, so when they get there, Monoko wants to show off his abilities and accidentally causes an explosion that separates Mael and Verso and Noco from the rest. He sobs like a blubbering baby after this, but this is a great opportunity
for bad for Monoko.
You just want to.
He feels so guilty about it.
He has so many emotions you didn't know he had.
You just want to tussle his little face feather things, the little tufts on his face. Oh, it's okay, good boy, Monoko.
It's big sad. Yeah. But it's a great opportunity for forced character exploration, and also forces you to try characters that maybe you've been benching for a while. So so now we have Mael versus Verso, and then we have CL and Lune paired off, and we get to have interesting exploration of character because of this, and Monoko. But it mostly focuses on the humans.
Yeah.
You meet the Faceless Man. We see him again and again. I didn't realize the first time I played this that this was always the same character. I thought we were meeting a lot of faceless characters. It's always the Faceless Man.
Yeah, there's a faceless man.
Oh, is it the
faceless
same
boy,
character?
A faceless girl and a lady.
Oh.
I guess the lady and
I thought they were. Yeah, I thought they were different people. That
I thought so too.
I wonder if they're connected to the curator. Then he's got no face.
Yeah, or to the Painteress.
Lundy
right?
just
because
did his eyebrows at me. Yeah. Maybe I'm onto something. Yeah.
I'll never tell.
Or maybe I'm not, and he's just being a smartass. Yeah.
Or maybe both.
The faceless
can
man
be two things.
The faceless man talks about how the paintress wasn't scared of death; she was scared of not enjoying all the paintings the world had to offer. So, we're getting diegetic clues as to who the paintress is characteristically, setting up what we might find out about her later. But she had FOMO on the good things in life, and didn't want to miss it. That's what made her scared of death. It wasn't death itself.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. All right, so after Ciel and Lune pair off, they discover a giant dead Axon, as we learn later what it is, and a journal from Expedition 58. This expedition had been the one that what's his name? Verso was with when he made it to Old Lumiere. And they read it. They start to worry that Mael might be in harm, so they make haste. There's just a mystery here. We don't know what's going on. And it starts to make Verso feel creepy around Mael. As soon as we get there, the music changes, the direction changes.
Yeah.
We're supposed to feel uneasy.
It up. Yeah, Lune picks up the thing and it says something about like something about Verso, and then she holds it up to Monoko and goes, "Is this true?" And then Monoko goes, "Verso would never hurt Mael." And then it cuts to Verso and Mael, and it's like, yeah, the mood changes. It's very like, all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm very suspicious of you now. Like, what is going on?
I think that this kind of, like setting up for a reveal is such a good contrast, because right before they left the camp, there's that scene of Verso and Monoko talking to each other, and Monoko's like, well, you should do something to kind of lighten things up. He's like, are you talking about what, the thing that hurts like hell? And he's like, yeah. And so Verso tears himself in half. He sends his legs walking up, and they start talking, and then when they see it's just his legs, then the top half of him comes walking up, and they all kind of start asking him all sorts of questions. And Monoko's like, he puts himself through all of that pain just to make them smile, just to kind of lighten the mood. And so you go from this moment of like, oh, Verso is, really trying to endear himself, to all of a sudden it's like, wait. Like, is he really dangerous? Do we trust him again? Like, it's kind of giving the player this whiplash of like, well, he seems like he's doing these good things, but now there's some added mystery, and maybe Mael's not safe with him.
Yeah, why is he trying to endear himself to the group? Does he have an ulterior motive? All of a sudden, you're just like, you're like trying to think back to every interaction you've had with Verso and be like, is he sneaky? Is he a bad guy?
Yeah. Sneaky. Yeah. So then you pair off with Verso and Mael and Noco. Verso disappears after some random battle. That's when Mael stumbles across the mansion again. A female character that's comparable to the curator comes to the door, and angry Verso runs forward. He's like, I knew that you would open the door for her. And as he goes to stop this floating lady, he's stopped by Renoir, and Alicia appears next to the side of this floating lady and kind of cozies up to her. So a lot of mystery, that'll reveal itself later, but good stuff.
Makes
so
no sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Renoir reveals that Verso is concealing truth from Mael because he still hasn't told her something. That's when you cue Ciel, Lune, and Monoko, who also know about some secret, showing up. So this is a big, pinning of Verso's character up against a wall. Mael knows he has a secret. The others know he has a secret. It's time for you to reveal your secret. Here's the turn. Renoir is Verso's father, but also, wasn't that obvious? Am I the only one that, that was obvious, right? Before this reveal?
I mean, something where, they're talking like they were related in our first encounter with Renoir. So
that's what it sounded like.
It was a big surprise to me, but I think it is a big reveal. I don't know, putting yourself in the shoes of your expeditioners, it's a pretty big deal. I'm just like,
Yes.
Renoir is the main villain so far.
And you didn't say that.
And you're deathly afraid of him. And then it's, he's connected to Verso, sowing more distrust into Verso. And at least for me, I really started to feel like Lune is the most animated about this betrayal by Verso. And I was able to really feel like Lune in this moment of just like, okay, I'm now super iffy on this Verso guy.
Yeah, I would say I don't know that I wasn't like super surprised by the reveal, but I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. It was just kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense that he would be. Like, I thought that he was, because they introduced it earlier as like he's their captain, like that Renoir was the captain of that expedition. And so I assumed that was where the familiarity was coming from. But then with this reveal, I was like, oh yeah, so there's even more. There's another layer to it. It was his captain, but also his father. So there's this even deeper connection to it. So,
right. So Verso's dismissive of this. He says that family just isn't his favorite topic. Cue a battle with Renoir. This is another fantastic character-driven battle like the Dueliste, where it's like we introduce a character conflict and then we immediately start a battle in order to punctuate this character climax. So after this battle with Renoir, Noco is broken. Renoir goes to strike Mael for not accepting who she is. Why don't you accept who you are?
Focus on Noco dying.
Yeah.
Well, he just sort of dies. We come back to it, but like he just dies.
We just brushed over this whole boss battle. This boss battle is awesome. It's the first time where you're like really facing Renoir proper. You know, you're really fighting him. It's an actual battle. It's not like here's 1 HP and you're about to die. It's like a real. You're really fighting him, and it feels daunting and scary. He's got interesting attack patterns that are like hard to dodge, and it makes him feel really imposing. And he's a very powerful force to be reckoned with. I also love that while you're fighting, one of the lines that he like spouts out while he's attacking is he goes, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed."
Such a father.
It's just like I'm surprised that he wasn't like, "Hi, hungry, I'm dad." Like it was. That's like the most parent line in the world. That he's sitting there like fighting with swords with his son, like magical battle, sword stabbing, and he's like, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed as I stab you with a sword." Like, just thought it was a weird moment of extreme comedy in a very serious moment.
My first time through this fight took me so long. Like, I just could not beat it. I struggled so many times to get through it, and this time I've been going through on the easiest difficulty just to make it so I don't have to focus as much on the gameplay and I can focus on other things. So this is the first time I've done it on the lower difficulty, and learned that, he has a move where it's like Renoir attempts to vanish so-and-so. And that's not an instant kill on easy, which I didn't know, because I struggled. That was the biggest part, is like I could never time it right. But it's a one-shot kill, and you can't revive that character when he does that. It's just, he vanishes them, they're gone. It's not like, oh, I can just use, one of these, revive tints and they're back. It's like, nope, you're just without this character now forever for the rest of this fight. And, so he would just go through my characters one by one and just vanish them, and then I'd send in the backups and he'd just vanish them too. And I was like, I hate this so much, because I just couldn't get that timing down to dodge it. And so this on this easier time, I still messed up the timing on the dodging it, but it just hit me and did damage, and I was like,
wait a minute.
Hey, this is way easier. But no, like this fight, like it was so rewarding to finally finish it that first time, because it literally took me like days of like, all right, I'm going to boot this back up. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to try to fight him, and I'm going to get my ass handed to me over and over and over and over until I'm so sick of this that I can't play it anymore. Turn it off, try it again tomorrow.
Yeah. I love how this battle is staged. You have the mansion in the background. You have that little pyramid dome skylight thing like the Louvre has in front of it, and all of this sort of with these leading lines directionally point you to the focal point, which is obviously Renoir, but just like the power of this, the blocking and staging of this fight that demands your attention, but also lends a lot of power and gravitas to Renoir himself. I just, whenever they get a chance, they're great at directing this stuff.
Just on Renoir's gravitas, I don't know what the exact thing I hit, but my party had mostly the baguette wardrobe on. Anyway,
the only way to play the game.
Through, Renoir is wearing the same outfit, and it just completely takes you out of it. So he's got a baguette, a beret, the tight
Renoir is
pants.
wearing it.
Yeah, and it is.
That's my favorite.
Never not funny. It just takes you completely out of it. It's like, oh, here's this imposing character with a baguette on his back.
Hang on. If I Google a picture of Renoir with a baguette, is it going to spoil anything for me? Should I not chance it?
It shouldn't.
Okay.
I don't think it's important to the story. It's just important that you see
it's
it.
important.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, just another super fun Easter egg this game has.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Go
gosh,
ahead,
it's
I
the
just had to
best.
Yeah.
bring that up.
All right. Well,
It's like an
Noco
old-timey
dies.
swimsuit. I love it.
Noco dies. Pause for dramatic effect.
That actually is really sad.
Okay, I was sadder about Noco than I was Gustav.
Whoa.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how you got so invested in Noco in such a short period of time.
I saw Noco like
Because
twice
he's an
in this
adorable
game.
little child. And
I love
Monoko is his
Noco.
guardian, and Monoko just is holding up this dead wooden puppet that was his son. How does that not tear at your heartstrings?
Listen, it tore my heartstrings apart, but not anywhere close to Gustav. Gustav was my boy.
You guys just have a hard-on for Charlie Cox. And
I mean, yeah.
if Gustav was played by anybody else.
Cox out for
Frankly,
Cox,
I
right?
like.
Yeah,
We're starting
hard-on
a
for
club.
Cox was very deliberate.
Yeah,
Cox for
I could
Cox.
see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so anyway, Renoir goes to strike Mael for not accepting who she is. That's one way to teach her, to teach somebody a lesson. Verso stops him, and we enter this black and white freeze frame again. And Alicia exits the mansion to see Mael. She removes her mask, touches Mael. This allows Mael to hear flames and yelling. She replaces her mask, re-enters the mansion, and it all disappears. Verso is angry. So apparently he wanted this mansion for some reason.
Also, there's a moment where Mael is like right towards the end there. She's fruitlessly attacking Renoir, and he's like blocking her and just kind of staving her off. And he just kind of looks at her quizzically and goes, "Why can't you just accept who you are?" What the F does that mean? Like, I like intrigue. So there, like, Mael is clearly very important in this world. I have a theory, but I'm, again, like I did with Death Stranding, I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest because I don't want to reveal anything. But I feel like she looks. I don't want to spoil anything by guessing. Should I just not say anything?
She and Alicia are very. It's very clear that she and Alicia have a connection. We don't know what the connection
look extremely
is.
Similar.
And they look very similar.
Also,
other than melted faces.
We've never seen the Painteress's face up to this point, and so I'm wondering if there's some kind of when we see her face, is it going to look like Mael? Don't react because I don't spoil it. But everyone go like this. But I like that's where my brain's at right now. Is like there's some kind of like Mael is important to Renoir, and so is the Painteress, and so is Alicia. I feel like those three are connected somehow. I just don't know how yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we now have a new mystery because we had Verso's mystery of like, is he good or bad in this next section. That has now been answered. It just turns out he was lying by omission of who Renoir was in connection to him. So we replaced that mystery with another of how is Mael connected to Alicia. So we got to drip feed this mystery to keep luring us in. I think that's why this story is so hard to put down, is they've got all these breadcrumbs that just lure you on until the end.
It's like the ending
very well
of every
paced
Breaking Bad episode. It just like is a little bit of a cliffhanger and mystery that just keeps you wanting more.
Yeah, we also had a negative charge with Verso, distrust because he's been concealing information. So before we were able to trust him because everything he did say was honest, and so they felt like they could align with him. Now they know that he lies by things he doesn't say, and so now it's a negative charge for his character. We distrust him a little bit, and he has to earn that back.
Yeah, a little bit of that trust is broken, and I do like a lot what Verso says about that when they ask him, like, why didn't you just tell us? He goes, he says, because it's painful
Family is complicated
and private and none of your business. I cut ties with him ages ago. It's just like, it's something he's, I mean, and Verso's like 100 and something years old. So he cut ties with Renoir, who knows how many years ago. And it's just this thing where it's just like, he's not my dad anymore. He was my dad. But I haven't talked to him in decades, maybe, really. And he just, it's private and personal and none of your business. It's like, it didn't seem relevant. And I wonder if there's this point of view where Verso is like, expeditioners come and go kind of a thing, where he's just like, I'm forming a bond with you guys. We're going to go try to get a little bit farther towards taking down the Painteress, but ultimately you guys are probably going to die and I'm probably still going to be here. I don't need to give you my life story. Let's just go and do what we can against the Painteress. So that's kind of the vibe I got from Verso, is that at this point he's sort of like, I don't want to say that he thinks that expeditioners are expendable, but he's gotten used to expeditioners coming and going.
Being ephemeral, right? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't believe in investing in relationships like he's doing now. This is a change for his character, according to how he used to be up until joining up with the disaster expedition.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that my family is as complicated as his, but I did I was able to be compassionate about his reason. I have a very complicated family. They're all mired in scandal or drama at all given times. It's easier to just not talk about them, because when I do, it's like I have to talk about all of them. I have to lay out all of their dirty laundry, and it's just like a huge dump of all this. Yeah, it's nonsense. So I don't discuss my family that often either.
Yeah, it's private and personal and none of your business.
That's right. All right, so we see after this, Noco is placed in a deco urn with his brush head sticking out, but the brush is tinted red now for his death. This is beautiful design-driven decision. I love this. It's unsettling and sad, but also beautiful. They captured all of that, right? We learned that Gestrels can reincarnate, but it'll be a different Noco. So does this remind anybody of anything? Like Groot?
Oh, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Or it's like, it's how they propagate, sort of. It's like, it's not technically the same group, but it kind of is, but not really. Like, yeah.
It's like a childlike, innocent creature who dies but gets reincarnated, but it's not actually that character still.
Yeah.
All the same vibes there.
There's later when we get to the kind of end where we get more into the lore, I'll share more thoughts that I have on this, but because there are things that are yet to be revealed that I think this ties into.
Okay. From Expedition 58, we learned that the Curator can create barrier-piercing weapon from the hearts of Axons. The Curator is very excited by this opportunity. And the corpse that they saw in Old Lumiere foreshadows that they can die, even though Verso doesn't want to deal with them because he doesn't know how that one died. He's never seen them get killed.
Yeah,
a lot of high stakes.
Yeah, clarifying some plot points here. So the heart of the Painteress, the one way you're going to get to the Painteress, was in the mansion that disappeared. And so
did they say that?
Verso,
Yeah, they did.
So
Okay.
Verso is our expedition now is kind of stalled out. They don't know how to get to the Painteress because they know there's this thick layer of chroma surrounding the monolith where she's at, and they can't get to it. And in this journal that Lune found of Expedition 58 that talked about Renoir being Verso's father, also talks about what Verso, a plan he pitched to them to be able to break through this barrier, and it deals with killing these Axons to create harvesting their chroma to be able to pierce this chromadome.
Which is what got them all
Chromodome.
killed in Old Lumiere, probably.
Probably.
Which, have you taken the chance to kind of like really look at that dead Axon from like kind of the map like world area.
Mm-mm.
You can, if you get
Is it
at the right
okay?
angle, yeah, like you can really see it, and it's kind of just this hunched over, like looks kind of like a woman. She's got like a big sword through the back of her head, but a lot of the city of Old Lumiere is built on her back,
Mm.
and it's a very cool,
Oh.
interesting design.
Mm.
I really like the design of a lot of these axons, and we'll talk more about that in the future as well, like in this episode and in future episodes. Um, but I think it's worth like at least going back and looking at it and getting an idea of like what it looks like, because I think the designs of each of the axons are really, really cool.
Yeah, and that probably
Ooh, okay,
plays
I just
into
had
the
a
lore
bunch
of
of
the
stuff
story,
click for
which
me
we
on
can't
that.
talk about yet. Yeah.
Oh, just a ton of things just clicked for me. I'm super excited to.
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
I'm
down the
excited
road.
to get there. I do want to talk. There's a couple of optional interactions that you have while you're at camp that I think
Mhm.
are great. The one with CL particularly. So when you talk to CL this time at camp, she talks about having kids and what that means. Like just more about like the people of Lumiere having children. And she mentioned that she has student, like she never had children of her own, but she talks about her student. She says her youngest student is 6 and her parents will gamage when she's 12, and she herself will only live, she won't live past 21. And it's just like the fact that these people are always focused on like the math of like when they'll die, that this 6-year-old is already thinking of like, all right, my parents are going to die when I'm 12 and I'm going to die when I'm 21. And like it's just something that is constantly oppressed and in everyone's mind in Lumiere, that they're always thinking about this thing. And then she comes up with another really fascinating point that talks about like every year that you wait to have kids is one less year that you have with them. Not just that,
And
but one
one-
less year that they get
yeah.
to be alive. That
Yeah.
like
I
it
love
is
that.
this. It just creates this like incredibly high stakes environment to be like, well, you know, what's the if you want to have kids, if you want to bring people into this world, there's this all this extra stuff around it. It's like, do I want to bring kids into this world just to die, or do I want to bring kids into this world so that they can have a life before they do die? And if I want to do that, I need to do it earlier so they can have more time and I can have more time with them. It's just like all of these crazy considerations when people aren't supposed to know when they're going to die, because when they do, it just creates this like, you know, you're trying to plan and figure out everything, and it's just, that's not what life is. That's what prison is. They're just prisons of their own minds trying to live in this world. It's just, I don't know, that conversation was just her talking to Verso and of them just like discussing children and the math, and like it was heartbreaking. It was just like, it was, yeah, it really kind of made me think and messed me up a little bit.
I really like that she quotes Sophie in this as well, where she's, you know, she's like,
Oh,
my
yeah,
friend
yeah.
Sophie used to say that she loves her children so much that the best thing she can do for them is not to have them. And that I remember, you know, it impacted me the same thing that, you know, Eric is describing. And like it might have been a little bit different for me just because I don't have kids of my own. You know, I'm sure that, you know, you guys probably view that a little bit differently, but you know, like me, a childless person who wants to have children, it's like, man, that would really suck. Like, you know, to be like, look, this is something that I'm looking forward to that at some point in the future, hopefully. But to be in a situation where it's like, this is something that I really want, but if I look at the world around me and say, like, the best thing I can do is to not have it. Like, I can't imagine really how terrible that feeling must be. And so, like, I don't know, it was a really impactful thing for me as well to hear her say that, and to share those thoughts and those feelings where she's like, look, I wanted kids, but like, I love them too much to bring them into this.
Yeah, it sheds a little
No,
more light on Sophie's situation, and just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know Tucker went through something similar before you had your first kid, where you're like, oh, the world's complicated. Is it the right, you know, should I have a kid? They're going to go through a really tough world compared to the one that I knew. You got through that. You have a beautiful kid
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, no, and I think like, I mean, like, yeah, that's completely accurate. And I think like the way I came to saying yes, I want to bring a child in this world actually fits really well with I can't remember who stays home from the expedition. to make the most of her life. I'm trying to
Is
remember
it
her
Emma? Or
Oh, like
name.
right
It's
at the
not- it's
beginning
not
of the
his
game.
sister. Yeah, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Gustav talks to
Is it-
her.
Lucy, I think, or something like
I don't
that.
remember her name. I remember that conversation with the character though.
Yeah.
You like talk to her and she's like, "Oh, I decided I don't want to go on the expedition because I'd rather spend this last year of my life with my kid."
Yeah. So I think kind of just the like I came to the conclusion, and Shen we talked a lot about it, but that yes, the world is complicated. There's a lot of bad things, but I can bring somebody in this world that can bring some good into the chaos and the bad, and could actually have a real impact in the world. And I think kind of the same thing. It's yes, there's this limited time with having children in Lumiere, but there's also the flip side of it is, hey, if you could bring something good into this world,
and you
that
get to
might be
shape
able
it,
to
right?
change, and you might, that can actually, change things. And so I really kind of just resonate with that part of it, just like really thinking, okay, why, bring kids into a crazy world that's, especially as a baby girl, like, there's some cards stacked against them. But then just saying, you know what, those things are scary, but I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to live to make things better. And I think that's bringing it back to the game. I think that's a common character. At least the characters we see, a common character attribute that they have is they are all trying to improve the bad world around them, and nobody's really apathetic, which is really, I mean, in today's climate, like, and how at least the U.S. is there's a lot of apathy around things. And so, I don't know.
Not in Lumiere.
That
Everyone's
was a
very
whole lot
actively
of-
engaged.
actively engaged. But we should be more like Lumiere. That was a long roundabout tangent.
Very relevant though.
Shannon, bringing me in.
Sorry, I solicited it.
Gosh, you got him talking on the podcast. That's not what we're here for. Everyone be quiet for 10 minutes. Yeah.
No.
Well, I do. There is one other small interaction that you have
Well,
with this.
first
Oh,
off,
no. Go ahead.
before you do that, I wanted to point out that this whole knowing when you're going to die and having that to be like is the term sort of Damocles over your life, your entire life, just like this constant pain and pressure that dictates everything that you do and say. I did just restart the IT crowd, and there's an episode where Moss finds a website that has
Tells you when you're
actuarial it tells you when you're going to die, and he finds out that Roy doesn't want to know, but then he looks over at Moss and he's like you looked, didn't you? And then it turns out he's going to die like on Thursday, so like 2 or 3 days later. It's incredibly funny, but it
And then
like
there's-
completely
Yeah.
a Thursday.
Well, and then,
It
and then
completely
they're at a
changes
funeral,
his
right.
Yeah,
They're at
he's
a
at a
funeral on
funeral.
Thursday, and then he like Roy. Something starts happening. He screams. He stands up and he starts screaming that he's
His
dying.
phone starts to ring.
And then his phone
Yeah,
is just
Moss
vibrating.
Moss turned up his phone to like I don't know, to like an 11, right? Like he changed the vibrate so it could go as loud as possible, and they're playing around with it. And he's like, "Oh, I don't think I can go any higher. It'll blow my cock off, right?
Yeah. But he says
But
it
then
in
it-
an Irish accent, so it's infinitely
It'll
more
blow my
charming.
cock
Yeah.
off." I can't say it, but anyway, yeah. Then he has it in his pocket, and it goes off during a funeral, and he thinks he's dying at that exact moment. It is so funny.
For anyone who likes like really dry, very stupid British humor, if you like that, you've probably already watched IT Crowd, but if you haven't, you should. It's great. It's good stuff.
Yeah, me in college finding it was recommended to me. It was one of those random shows on early Netflix, And I watched it and I was like, I hate this. And second episode, I hate this. Third episode, I hate this. Then I find out, like, by the end of the second season, I don't think I hate this, but because I can't stop watching it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I remember this day very clearly. I just, like, walked in the room and sat down on a beanbag chair and just sat there watching the show with Shan. And I'm like, what am I watching? I can't
What's
not
happening?
watch it because I'm sucked in.
Well, and at the beginning of season 2, Matt Berry enters the show, and he's the funniest man that's ever been
Lightens
born.
it all up.
There's this. Oh my god,
Father! It's that same
Father?
episode with the actor.
Oh, it's the same episode.
Yeah.
So there's this is the last thing I'll do, but my favorite joke in all of the IT crowd is when Matt Berry's character, he's like the leader of this big company, and he's an incompetent doofus, but he's very, very silly, and he like sits down at his desk and he goes, I don't think I've ever looked in that drawer. And he opens it up. Oh, look, a gun.
And then he doesn't he like pull it into his mouth?
I wonder if it's loaded. Nope. It's so stupid. I love it so. Lundy, have you watched IT Crowd? You should watch IT Crowd.
I haven't. I've heard really good things, and I've meant to check it out. I haven't.
Yeah.
Well, I like it
season
because
one is
it's
rough to get through.
Yeah.
But as soon as Matt Berry comes in, it makes it all better.
Well, and I like it because it's kind of short and snacky. There's like 20-minute episodes. I think there's like four seasons.
4 seasons, but
and
they're like
there's only like 6
5
episodes
to 10
in each
episodes.
season.
Yeah, it's short.
So it's just this nice,
is-
like you don't. It's not a huge time commitment, but it's quite funny. So
So that's like my favorite joke in The Good Place. It's so subtle. Eleanor and Tahani are watching the show about these like 2 roommates, and it like mirrors their relationship.
oh yeah,
And she's like, and Tahani's like, it ran for 15 years on the BBC. They did nearly 30 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's just such a subtle joke, but that's the IT crowd. It's like 4 seasons, and like I think the 5th season has 1 episode. And
it's like 1 hour long episode that happened like they recorded like 10 years later or something like that. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the US to like do an adaptation of that show. I feel like it would port just like The Office did.
They did like 1 season with the same guy that played Moss. What's his name?
Richard
Ayoade.
Richard Ayoade, and then also Joel McHale as
How did I
character.
completely miss this?
I haven't seen any of it, but I think they did a few episodes and it bombed hard.
Yeah, that's
I don't think Joe
fascinating.
McHale could pull off a Roy. That's
He's too handsome.
No, definitely not. Yeah. He's too handsome. He just plays himself in everything he's ever been in.
All right. Anyways, what were we talking about?
Yeah, Eric, you were gonna say something. Did you?
Oh yeah.
forget what it was?
Oh yes. I do have one more while we're at camp. I do have one more fun little interaction that I want to talk about again with SK because of course.
Woo-wee.
So you're talking to woo wee. This is one of my favorite SK conversations so far. So for a couple of reasons. So the first thing he says that was mean. Renoir's not being Renoir, and I was like, what does that mean? What is Renoir usually like? And why does SKA think that him killing someone is out of character? Because all we've seen of Renoir so far is him killing people. So what does SKA know about this character that we don't know? Is there another side to Renoir? Is he generally trying, like in SKA's eyes at least, a good person that doesn't go around randomly killing people? Because so far, all I've seen Renoir do is randomly kill people. Why does SKA think this is out of character for Renoir? So I thought that was a really weird little nugget that does not make sense to me right now and how I understand Renoir to be. So I'm going to put that in the back of my brain and save it for later. But then also you go on to talk about like, you know, how SK is feeling. And he says that, I'm woo, but I'm also wee, as like a, you know, woo, wee, like woo to mean sad, wee to mean happy. He says, but I'm also wee, so the wee balances out the woo. And it's just like, he's just talking about like, you know, I'm a little bit of everything, which makes sense for somewhat a character like SK who seems to operate on like a higher plane of emotional something than people do. He's kind of his own thing. But and then right after this, you know, every time you have a conversation with a character at camp, a little blurb pops up on screen that says like the conversation continued and blah, 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 you know, and then they talked about this and they went back to camp and it was nice. And this is my favorite line of text so far in the game. I'm having a lot of these. This is a really good like play session for me. But you talk to Esquier, he does the woo-wee bit, and then it says, Esquier's nonsense inspires Verso, and then Verso learns a new like gradient attack. I was like, what a great like Esquier's nonsense inspires Verso. I want that on a shirt. Like I love that so much. Esquier is just full of nonsense, and it's all inspiring.
All right. So after this camp, oh yes,
yeah. Sorry. Just one more quick thing with the camp. One thing that I really like is the conversation between Verso and Mael. Because they do, like Eric mentioned earlier, they talk a lot about life in Lumiere. And he asks about her parents, and she says that she was about 3 when they passed. And she refers to herself as an unwelcome surprise because her parents never wanted kids, especially like right before they gommage. And, talks about how she kind of just bounced from foster family to foster family for a while because she was a weird kid. And that's why Gustav took her in, because Gustav was also kind of a weird kid and was like, hey, I know how to take care of you. But I just like this, the beginning of this, to kind of set up that Mael never really felt like she ever fit in. And it kind of informs why she wanted to go on the expedition in the first place, even though she's only 16. She's half the age of the rest of the expedition. But she's like, you know what? This place, it's home, but it's not really home. I want to get out and see the world before I die. I want to go someplace. Like, I don't fit in here, so why would I stay here? Kind of a thing.
Yeah. Also, Gustav is her world. That's the only place where she's ever fit in. Gustav is going on the expedition. After this, he's gone no matter what. So what else does she have after Gustav is gone? So it's kind of like a last ditch, like I might as well go kind of a thing. And I just think it also provides another little dynamic into the operations of Lumiere and how these people are living under this oppressive thing. It's like what happens when you have a kid right before you gommage. Mael happens. So they do these little interesting story beats and conversations to show you all of these different ways that the Painteress has affected individuals and families and the group as a whole.
Yeah, and with that, knowing that dynamic now, when you look back at kind of one-off Mael lines, but she talks about how this world of the continent feels familiar, feels like home. She uses that with Old Lumiere, and so it's just another thread of a connection to this world that we know very little about. Is Mael, who has felt like an outcast her entire life, like she doesn't belong, outside of Gustav, and is put into this brand new crazy world full of death, and there's some feeling of belonging, some feeling of connection to this world. So just I think something to just keep in the back of our minds as we play the rest of this game.
Yeah, Mael's familiarity with this world is something that I don't understand yet. But like I said, I feel like she's connected to Alicia and the Painteress in some way.
Right. So after camp, we have to go head off and find the chroma hearts of 2 axons. So axons, if it's referring to the axons that most people understand them to be, they're the thread-like part of a nerve cell along which impulses are conducted from cell body to other cells. These are conduits. So arguably, these are conduits of pure chroma and power that will lead them to the Painteress. Perhaps that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, I mean, they need their chroma to pass through the chroma. What is it? What did you call it, Tucker? That's
I call it chromodome, but I don't know.
The chromodome.
That's definitely not what it's
that's
called.
in the way of the monolith. Yeah.
Dimmadome.
Yeah.
Right, so first head off to Visage Island. It's an island echoing with dissonant, faded voices.
Did you guys do it in the other order? Because you have the choice to do it either Visage,
you can do it now.
So
Siren,
I actually
or
have
Visage.
Yeah, I actually have like so I was, I initially started, I was like, I'm going to do the harder one first and just get it out of the way. And I was like, and I also, I looked it up because you guys were like, beware of the charm boss or that's coming up soon. And so I was like, that's the charm one. I was like, I'll go and I'll do the charm one first. So that's the boss that charms you. And I go to that area and I died so hard, so fast. And I was like, nope. And I just I got charmed, and then Monoko killed everyone in my party. And fun fact, did you know that if one of your allies is charmed and then they get knocked out and then you revive them, they're still charmed when they come back? So don't do that. And so I faced like 3 enemies, got murdered super hard, and just tucked my tail in between my legs. And then I went back to the easy island. And I was like, oh, okay, just kidding. I'll go fight the other one first. Being charmed was I was not good at that.
Charm is hands down my just bane of my existence in this section. I died so many times on that boss.
And the timing is weird too. And it's not just the bosses. The normal enemies can do it too. And so it's a hard one to. I literally like kicked in the door, got charmed 100 times, and then it was like, just kidding, I'll be back later. Like, and it's a hard one to dodge too. The timing is like a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Visage Island. Visage means, faces. So that makes sense because it's an island echoing with dissonant, faded voices with faces embedded in the rocks. This continues the motif of faces, seen or hidden or missing from like the curator, or we've seen masks before. But like Alicia has a mask. There's a lot of concealing of identity or faces that are hidden or obstructed or destroyed or stuff like that.
All of the gestrels have masks too, and so does Monoko.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love when you land on the island. Monoko has this little, slight dialogue of it's he who hides truth. He who hides truth with lies.
He hides truth
That's
with
it.
lies. Yeah.
He who guards truth.
Or guards truth with lies. Yeah.
Yeah, guards truth with lies. And Siren has her own thing as well, but. I don't know. That was going through my head the whole time as we're running through here, just different masks. So really cool motif of just masks, and the masks we all have to put on and take off in different situations. So there's very symbolic in this area.
Yeah, and sometimes the symbology doesn't need to be subtle, because the whole masks thing is pretty overt, and it's just like, we're hiding who we are. We're, like hiding our true feelings. And it's just like, what's it? Masks. Like, but it still is like a beautiful area and well done, even though the symbology was pretty, no pun intended, in your face.
Yeah. I think there's hidden depth here that we can find, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite areas in the game. Like, I love just kind of the mystery of it all and like kind of the unsettling nature of just the faces everywhere. And then if you take the different paths before you go to the Axon, there's a different path for different emotions. There's joy, there's sadness, there's anger. And I love that, like, the world looks different. The Neverons are behaving differently, in each of these areas. And one of my favorite things that you can find, there's a door to the manor in the anger section. And when you go in there, there's a recording that is from an unknown person, but it's definitely
Who could it be?
Voiced by
it sounds
Serkis.
like Andy Serkis, and so it's like but
a stranger that looks and talks like Renoir. Who could it be?
And so the quote that's in there,
Pokemon.
the quote
It's
from
Jigglypuff
Pikachu.
seen from above.
Have you guys watched that thing where it's like, who's that Pokemon? And it's like every time it's a different shape, but then no matter what it is, it's always Pikachu, but it's like Pikachu curled up in a ball, or like it's just you always think it's going to be something different. Nope, always Pikachu. Yeah.
But
I feel like there needs to be fan art of Renoir dressed as Pikachu now.
All right, so this journal entry.
Sorry, go ahead, Lindy.
The journal entry, the quote in there, it says, "Art can be a window and art can be a mirror, and great art is both. Son, you'll never be a true artist if there's always a mask between you and the viewer, especially when the viewer is you." And like,
he's not mad, he's just disappointed.
Like, I don't know, like, it's one of those things that it's like, I really like that, just from like an art standpoint, where it's like, I don't create art as like painting or drawing, I'm not close to like what Eric is able to do. But, I kind of, Verso a little bit earlier talked about the kind of artist that he was. He's more drawn to music than to actual like paint, which his parents didn't appreciate. But I kind of relate to that because, as I've tried to like write songs and things like that, there are times where I try to emulate something else. It's like I try to write what I think would sound good or what like this band or this artist would write. And every time I've tried to write a song like that, I think it's going great. And then as soon as I finish it, I'm like, wow, this is terrible. This is just awful work. and it's one of those things that it's, you'll never be a true artist if there's a mask between you and the viewer, especially when the viewer is you. If you're deceiving yourself into what you're trying to make, you're never going to succeed in being an artist. It's always going to be somebody else's version of something else. But I don't know. I just thought it was like a really interesting nugget that is kind of hidden away there.
No, and to your point, like the best lyricist of our generation arguably is Taylor Swift. I mean, I'm sure there's other competitors in that space. She's an incredibly talented lyricist. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, get the hell out of here.
I don't. Here's the thing. I haven't listened enough to disagree, so I can't.
I think she's very good.
5 Taylor Swift songs, and not my jam, but I respect those who like it.
You don't have to like. I'm just saying she's talented at writing lyrics.
She does have a good talent for it. I also think that sometimes she rests on her laurels, and I can send you a video that proves it, where it's all of the different songs where she rhymes bar with car.
You're wrong. Here's why. Yeah,
like it's very, very, very frequent that she uses the same rhymes through song to song to song.
After writing like 200 songs, I'm somewhat okay with that. She's one of the most prolific artists of this generation also.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just wouldn't say she's the greatest lyricist of our generation.
I said one of, and I still stand by that.
Fight.
The point I was trying to make is that...
Get him.
The point that I'm trying to make is
Tucker,
that...
let's find something to disagree on so we can fight too.
Good lyrics or good art, good music, good painting, all of this stuff, it has to reveal yourself. It has to be an extension of who you are. If you are just writing a message of like, I'm going to write a love song, and you go out and put that out there, but it didn't reflect something that came from your own life, then it's probably going to feel empty and meaningless. It has to be real. And that's what I feel like she does arguably so well. And that has made her lyrics so time immemorial. Like she's excellent at expressing herself through lyrics.
Yeah. I spend a lot of, I can get over with it. I spend a lot of time drawing things that I think are cool. Like I draw a lot of superheroes and video game characters and stuff like that. Stuff that I think is cool, which means that it's like I'm always really happy with the product, but not all of them. I don't look at them and like, oh wow, that's a really meaningful piece of art. It's just like, wow, I really enjoyed making that. I think it looks great, and that's generally the kind of art that I do. But I've had a few times where I've created pieces of art where I step back and I'm like, whoa, that means something. Like it's a different kind of experience when you're creating art that way, because sometimes, I feel like creative people can get blocks. Sometimes everyone gets blocks, but creative people, you can get a block where it's like you're just having a hard time making this creative thing that you want to do work. You've got an idea in your head, but you can't make it happen. And then sometimes I'll sit down to like draw something and it just kind of like falls out of me. It's just like and it just like and so it's a different kind of art, because there's nothing wrong with making things that are like artistically that are kind of, that aren't super meaningful, that are just kind of fun and frivolous. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is a different thing when you're making something that feels like real art. It's something that just kind of comes out of you. It comes from a real place and it's more meaningful.
It expresses something that's a part of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we get the Visage Axon, or we learned it's a deception. It's just a mask of an Axon, but the Visage decides to strike the team after CL touches a mask that's on the ground. For some reason, this offends it greatly. I don't know that there's any good reason to it. Yeah,
don't touch my stuff.
Don't touch my things.
So it's not when she touches it; is she throws it back at it. She picks it up, looks at it, walks over, and then like tosses it off the cliff at it.
Okay,
I hate this crap.
Yeah.
And he goes,
so suddenly,
that was my mask. You could have broken it.
So then the team and the Visage were quarreling after this. The Visage is a floating mannequin with a chest mask, a belly mask, and 5 partial masks floating as its heads. These masks represent determination, peace, anxiety, doubt, and confidence.
Yeah, this is a cool boss battle. I feel like this is a pretty common trope in JRPGs where it's like, here is main bad guy and here are 5 little orbs around him that you attack in different ways and do different kinds of attacks. So it's kind of like a staple of the genre where it's like the boss summons or uses different things that like represent different things. And so this felt like a very JRPG battle for me, which I was kind of okay with. Like I said, I love how this game is taking a lot of JRPG things and doing stuff that's tried and true, but then also doing a lot of new interesting things. And this boss battle particular felt like a classic JRPG boss battle, where it's like, different kinds of elemental attacks that meant different things, but there's the big bad kind of floating in the background with and you're like standing on a cliff face with this like huge monster floating in front of you. Is like this is they're copying Final Fantasy's homework here a little bit, but I love it.
Yeah, after this battle, the Mask Keeper arrives and repeats that great art is a window and a mirror. So we just learned that, probably Renoir just said that at the mansion to Verso, and now the Mask Keeper is also saying this. The Mask Keeper places a mask on his faceless head and reveals himself to be the true Axon. It says we all have masks, but it's about how you use them. This is a pretty awesome fight. Anything you want to say about the fight itself?
That's a pretty prolific line of dialogue. Like, we all have masks and just how you use them. Like, there's a lot of self-reflection on there and the masks that you use in your own life.
Yeah. Masks are inevitable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This section caused me a lot of self-reflection, is what I'm trying to say, which I was not expecting at all.
It was a window and a mirror?
It was a window and a mirror.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Great art.
Yeah, this was a super cool boss fight. It was like sort of an expected reveal that like, that's not the Axon. This guy is the Axon. And it's like, I knew that there was going to be a second phase to the boss fight, but I still really liked that it was kind of like this almost minion kind of character to what you thought was the real Axon. It's like, he gave me kind of Butler vibes where he's like, I'm the butler and go fight the big bad guy. And then you beat the big bad guy and he's like, it was me the whole time. And so again, kind of a classic JRPG trope, but I really liked it. I think he's an imposing threat, even when he's just kind of standing there in front of you. And yeah.
Like in Clue, when one of the endings reveals that the butler is also Mr. Body.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that movie. What a great movie.
I said one of
okay, it's only one of the endings. There's like 4 of them. Yeah.
There's 3. Excellent movie. Everyone needs to shut up and go watch it.
Yeah.
All right,
Tim Curry, right? Is the I always forget his name. Tim Curry at his finest. He's great. Yeah.
He's really good in it. After the battle, this Mask Keeper, he slaps masks on everyone after the fight. But Ciel just kind of casually removes hers and says, "It can't hurt me because it is me." Then she walks up and removes the Mask Keeper's mask, and he falls and dies.
Yep. So also, I love the masks are like, I think Lundy's got the look on his face. You go. I feel like I'm stealing Lundy's thunder a little bit.
You go ahead and do it. My voice is still a little bit recovering, so you can deliver it better.
I'll take it. Yeah. So the masks are swirling around and they're like landing on everybody's faces, and then Monoko is just sitting there, just like dumb, just like boop a doop a doo, and the masks are just like tunk tunk, just like bouncing right off of him, and he's just whatever. And I just like I love Monoko's ability to undercut serious moments just by being there. Like it's like this serious moment with these people who are like dirty and grungy and they've got mud and blood caked all over them and they're having a hard time and these masks they're gonna hold up a hard like reflection to who I am and it's gonna be a tough challenge, and Monoko's just with his finger in his nose just hanging out like masks bouncing out. I just love it so much. He's fantastic. He brings a bit of like of levity to these really heavy proceedings without feeling like a token comic relief character, because he feels emotional and impactful as well, but he has this ability to undercut serious moments in a meaningful way. I love it. The mask just bouncing off. It's hilarious. Comedy gold.
So afterwards, Verso says, "That was Verso, wasn't it, Renoir?" So this is awesome, right? This Axon represents Verso. And we know that Renoir has created the Axons, right? And so why did he create an Axon representation of Verso, and why did it have this form? It also had the same small and large rapiers that Verso has. And it has like a similar, albeit more ostentatious version of his outfit. So the Mask Keeper is Verso.
Yeah, the word verso also means the flip side
Back.
of like the back of something. When I looked it up, it said like an example it gave was like a coin or a painting. So it's like a mirror image, like a flip side. So this imagery of like Renoir talking about holding up a mirror, like Verso's name literally kind of means mirror. It's like the back side of something, the flip side of something.
Yeah, I think that the Mask Keeper says that even at one point where he says front and back, recto verso.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Recto verso.
All right, so on Visage Island, there were 3 masks: joyness, sadness, and anger before meeting the Axon. The joy mask was named Jovial Moussigneuse, which means reaper or harvester. The riddle speaks of a painter who wants to share with those he loves. So this is one mask that... So these masks, now that we understand that the Axon itself represents Verso, we can do some reverse engineering here to understand that these other masks...
Verso engineering?
Verso engineering. That the masks on Visage Island are probably masks that Visage or that Verso wears in his life, and this is how Renoir has condemned Verso's character flaws, or this is how he sees him, basically. So the joy mask, jovial, moussigneuse. So we know that Verso is an artist. He's a pianist. He's a guitarist. He likes this part of him is how he experiences joy, is by sharing those with those he loves. The sadness mask is sorrowful chapelier, which means hat. This probably expresses the weight of sadness constantly bearing down on somebody's head or on their being.
Sad hat.
Sad hat. Yeah, sad hatter. The anger mask is called seething bouchelier, which means mouth shield. It's a portmanteau. So this probably represents masked vulnerability with fury, and using angry words to conceal the vulnerability that you actually feel inside. So all 3 of these probably represent some flaw or personality trait of Verso. So character-driven conflict. Fantastic stuff.
I hadn't made the connection directly to Verso. I don't know why. It seems kind of obvious now, but that's interesting.
Yeah. The Visage had 5 masks that I talked about: the determination, peace, anxiety, doubt, and confidence. I don't know if those directly map onto Verso. Perhaps they do. There is a French tradition of there being 5 masks in theatrical performances, but those masks don't map directly onto these. So it's possible they were digging into French lore, but then making it into something of their own, which I appreciated. So this could be a source of tension between him and his father, that Renoir always condemned his art for being dishonest. It's a reflection of Verso's current conflict with his team, that he's not being honest with them and therefore cannot be the best version of himself and a true team member. So condemns him for being withholding, which is the current conflict and arc Verso is dealing with and needs to overcome. All right, so we just had that 3-act structure at the beginning of Act 2, where we say, Mael wants to turn back because she's grieving too much. Verso, his arc is, I can't be trusted. And we kind of settled on something, but now we're entering this other part of Act 2 where we're kind of digging into these flaws again. And this is digging into his dishonesty and how that's holding him back. But interestingly enough, it's Ciel who finishes the Axon. So Ciel doesn't have a character arc. She is a flat character arc, in that she doesn't go from needs and wants to changing over the story. She's static and a constant. So I think she gets the final blow in this because it represents that she is a very honest character. And so her mask is her reality. She doesn't hide things with her masks. She uses her masks as identity that portray truth. And that's why the masks were incapable of restraining her. And that's why she was able to be the foil to Verso in this moment and destroy the Axon.
Yeah. Also, it talks about previously there's an interaction at camp. I don't remember exactly when, where Mael and CL are talking. And it's Mael wanting to get some like battle training, warrior training from CL because CL is a great warrior. And CL talks about how it's all about understanding your opponent and seeing things as they truly are, which as an honest person is like she works hard to like see the world as it is, not as she wants it to be. And so it makes sense that she would be the one that understands this mask situation and is able to see through it because it's something she's trained for her whole life and it's something that she's very good at.
Right. So after we get the Chroma Heart, the curator demands that it's Mael that hands it over, and there's a flash of the white-haired and cleaner appearance version of Renoir. She stares down the curator afterwards, but Verso dismisses this moment as trauma and a nightmare of Renoir. But she seems to be very curious of the curator all of a sudden, fairly so.
Yeah. Also, right after that happens, is Mael hands it to him. That thing happens, and then Mael goes, "Who are you?" Because she's never really asked the question of like, "Who are you?" And of course, the curator does not answer because he's got a giant hole in his head. So I don't know how he answers anything.
So we know that the curator is somebody, and by extension, you can infer that the faceless white-haired lady is also someone. It's not just an NPC. It's someone.
Yeah, there's a big focus on like faces being removed to like literally obfuscate characters and their motivations. It's like we see that with all of these like the ghostly people that you talk to. None of them have faces. The curator and the lady curator don't have faces, and so it's like I feel like it's a story device to create this mystery and intrigue around these characters. Like, well, what's something that we use as a way to connect with everybody is we eye contact. We look at their faces. How do you connect with these people and characters that just don't have faces? They've got a big black void where their face should be. And so it's this literal, like, what's going on with them. It sparks our human curiosity right away, just by the fact of them not having faces.
Mm-hmm. So at camp, there's another round of character relationship developments. Any one specifically that you want to talk about?
I did like that. So Mael has a great conversation with Verso here. Lundy's nodding his head. Me and Lundy, we're on the same wavelength. We like the same things, apparently. So they have a great conversation where they talk about Mael's name in particular. And Mael in French means chief or princess. And Verso uses that as a way to indicate it's like, okay, well, maybe your parents, you weren't such an unwelcome surprise. You know, if something that you don't want, would you name that chief or princess? You know, and so I think it was this, like, maybe something that hadn't occurred to Mael before, but that Verso has taken this moment to be gentle with her and to be kind and to be like, you know what, even though you were unexpected, I think that your parents loved you. And you they didn't have a chance to really express that to you because they were gone when you were just 3, which is, can you imagine? That's horrible. Like, but I love that they took this moment for Verso to say, hey, I think your parents loved you, and maybe try to internalize some of that. Like, think about that, because I think Mael's probably kind of seems like she's sort of mad at her parents for not being there, which isn't their fault, but you know, sometimes you, like, when you're feeling things that big, it doesn't always make sense.
Yeah. We also learned that Renoir kept his scar from the moment he had a falling out with Verso and vice versa. They both kept their scars, which is something that Verso hadn't thought about, so that's fun. Verso plays the piano with Mael humming and Esquier dancing. This is my favorite moment. Mael thinks she knows the song, but he played it for his sister. more mystery.
Another
intrigue.
like weird connection between Mael and Verso's sister.
Mm-hmm. Afterwards, you head to Sirene.
No, wait. There's one more interaction. You skipped the interaction with.
Well, I
with
asked
Verso
if
and,
anybody talked about the ones they liked.
I gave one. I was going to give another. You just were also doing yours. Yeah. So Verso and Monoko have a quick interaction where they do each other's hair. It's stupid and adorable.
Also, my favorite Monoko haircut by far.
Yeah, it's like these like dreadlock
judge. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like a little chin thing and these like not dreadlocks, these braids kind of next. It's his Viking haircut, I think, and it looks great. But I love that they have this moment where, you know, you get a new haircut for Verso, you get a new haircut for Monoko, and then again at the end of it they give a little like text blurb of what was going on, and it says, hang on, Verso and Monoko are now bound by a manly love of style, which they would never admit to each other, which might be my second favorite line in the whole game. I love it.
One of the other things that I love here, it didn't allow you to like go and spend time with SKA, but if you go and talk to him, you know, they talk a little bit more about the rocks, and Verso asks, you know, how do you keep losing your rocks? Like, you know, don't you swallow them? And he says, well, sometimes I laugh too hard. And so like I just like this visual of like SKA just being SKA, and he laughs at whatever makes him laugh, and he regurgitates his rocks because he's laughing too hard, and then he's like, well, since I already coughed it up, maybe now I'll lose it so that Verso has to help me go find it again. But like I just love that visual, you know. He's just like, well, because he's like, don't you swallow them? How do you keep losing them? He's like, well, sometimes I just laugh too hard. Like, what do you expect me to do?
Things are funny. Yeah.
Right. So afterwards, now you head to Sirene. So this is where we get the She Who Plays with Wonder. So the other one was He Who Guards Truth with Lies. We now know that Verso is the one who conceals truth with his lies, but lies by omission is what he's using to conceal his truth. Now we get to Sirene, She Who Plays with Wonder. This is a post-fracture location whose style appears to be Art Nouveau in foundation, with flowing nautical motifs, surrealist painterly distortions, and encased in a ritualistic temple-like architecture.
Yeah, this is kind of like a Roman Colosseum vibe from this, like the cloths everywhere and the pillars, and it just it kind of had that sort of a vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm used to, you know, games just like taking an art, you know, an architectural style or whatever, and just like using that ties into their theme and running with it, which is what they've done with Art Deco up until this point, and they've done some Art Nouveau. But here, I think this is one of my favorite locations as far as like an expression of what the designers were capable of, because this is, although it has Art Nouveau inspiration with its flowing architecture and lines, it was like a conglomeration of ideas into a completely novel concept of what architecture could look like. And I thought this was just very creative. And the reason that they leaned on these nautical motifs is because this is supposed to be evocative of the Sirens from Homer's Odyssey. They traditionally were portrayed as bird-like creatures whose singing would lure in unwary sailors onto rocks, but this later evolved into mermaid-like figures.
I just want to throw in an obligatory Always Sunny reference here. It's very funny that sirens were depicted as bird-like creatures, and then also the giant Axon dances like D dances in as the like inflatable person, because this is exactly how the siren dances. So I'm pretty sure this entire area was inspired by Sweet D Reynolds.
Yeah, they didn't mocap for the dancer in the middle at all. They just took the footage from It's Always Sunny. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Something
else cool about the dance here is, so when you go to these different islands with the Axons, you get to the first one with all the masks and stuff, and Mael makes a comment about how the song sounds familiar to her, and then when you get to this next. Yeah, well, and then when you get to this next island with Sirene, she talks about how the dancing seems familiar to her. So on each of these Axon islands, Mael is immediately, like, within a minute or so of being there, being like, something feels familiar here. So I don't know what that means,
Well,
but I thought I would point it out.
She asked if they taught that dance in Lumiere, and Verso is just like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. I've never seen this dance before.
Yeah, but if they did, it would feel familiar to someone else too. It's just Mael. And so there's something there. There's a reason why the developers did that. I don't know why yet, but yeah, it's something is happening with Mael, and I don't know what it is yet.
Right. So I wanted to also explain that the Sirens, they represent the seductive temptations that could lead to self-destruction. To get past these creatures, the crew in Homer's Odyssey decided to plug their ears with wax and bound Odysseus to a mast so he could steer them through their trap without dying. This concept is referred to as the Ulysses Pact or the Ulysses Contract. The concept in psychology or in other places where this is used, this is to refer to limiting future freedom to ensure the follow-through on a rational choice. Yeah.
All right.
Which I
Tying
learned
yourself
about
to a
when
mast.
Yeah.
Makes
I learned
sense.
about the Ulysses Compact from like a book by Annie Duke. She talks about like she's a professional gambler, and Ulysses Pact is like one way to be rational while you're gambling. Like you have hard rules set for yourself so that if any of those rules ever get triggered, you know to walk away before you get emotionally triggered and hijacked. Yeah. Wasn't there a cartoon or anime that had like the bird version of the Sirens? I thought it was Rick and Morty. I couldn't find that was true.
The
The
What
Witcher
We Do in the Shadows
birds.
had one.
Oh,
yeah.
it did have sirens. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Had like a chicken siren. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
Yes.
When
I went down to the river to pray.
Yes.
What a great movie. Yeah.
those women that are singing are supposed to represent the sirens from Homer's Odyssey, and then they turn what's his face into a horny toad.
We thought you were a
Del Rey
toad.
we thought she was a
You
toad.
were a toad.
Yeah, they're also this is going to be Christopher Nolan's next movie. I think he's making the Odyssey, and that'll be cool.
Ooh, all right.
It looks really good.
So,
Yeah.
Matthew Damon.
Is it Matt
Tom
Damon?
Holland's in
It's
it,
got a
too.
big stacked cast.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like they only have just like a small like teaser trailer, but I'm quite excited for it.
I thought you didn't like Christopher Nolan. Mindy.
I've never said that.
Didn't like one movie.
that-
His most
No,
important.
he hates
one.
all of them.
There's a lot that there's a lot of them that I don't like. For a while, I held the opinion that The Dark Knight broke him because he didn't make another good movie after that. But I've since changed. Oppenheimer was great. So
I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet.
Oh my gosh.
I
You
know.
gotta see it.
It's-
There's a
I
nudie
know,
couch scene.
I very what?
Yeah.
Well, I really got to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's spoofed fantastically in Mythic Quest. They do it because in the final season they finally realized that what's his name who plays Abed from Community, I'm spacing his
Oh,
name.
Danny
Pudi.
Pudi.
Yeah. Yeah, they finally realized that they couldn't make him into any other character, so they start to go back to his Community roots and let him do parodies in the final season of Mythic Quest. And he does one of Oppenheimer, and it's really good. He's really good at spoofs and parodies. He's among the best. Anyway. So the Sirens here in Sirene can manipulate perception and lure them into false worlds where they dance endlessly. This is a theme in this section of the allure of getting lost in distractions from what is important. Along the way, you meet the Fading Man again. He is here and he talks about how it's a gift to know your darkest nature or a curse to which we must turn a blind eye. We lie to ourselves all the time about things we'd rather not admit or confront. So this is extending the theme of Sirene, which is, I don't know, just lying to yourself, just avoiding hard truths and being seduced by unreality. Along the way, you can meet Tissia and Glissando. In translated, these mean weaver and slider. So just kind of like, I don't know if thematically maybe that ties into Sirene with like its flowing lines and stuff like that. And I don't know if it means much. but these are minions of Sirene herself.
Yeah, I liked Tissue. Just looked like a giant sewing machine with arms. That was a fun boss battle.
Yeah. After this, you get up to Sirene. Lune sees her parents who left, and they had left on an expedition that didn't succeed. Lune had found out that the mission didn't succeed when Ciel's parents go Mage, and that's how they both connected. Was basically their parents were the same age. One went on the expedition, one stayed back. They both sets of parents orphaned them at the exact same day.
Yeah, so Lune was like holding out hope. She's like, maybe they'll come back, maybe they'll come back. And then finally, when the next scrimmage happened, she was like, oh, they're not coming back.
Yeah. Mael sees Gustave, obviously. Ciel sees her husband, who had died in an accident, holding a child. We learn she didn't really have a child. She didn't birth a child, per se.
It was making me wonder if she miscarried. There's an indication of some kind of like difficulty from her past. And her husband dying unexpectedly definitely could be that. But I was wondering why he was holding a baby. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Found it in a dumpster.
It's a dumpster baby. It's a
spare baby. Yeah.
I do think it's really interesting, like right before they start seeing these things, she's kind of waving her arms around, but there's a bunch of petals that start to kind of flow off her arms, and it looks really similar, but instead of it being the red and the white petals that we've associated with the gommage, it's red and purple. And so, there's still one similar color, but then there's the purple that's kind of replaced the white, and these visions that they see of people that they've lost are kind of these purple mirages. And so, I think it's interesting to contemplate, okay, like, what does the white represent and what does it represent when we replace it now with this purple?
It's possible, like, just by showing these fake hallucinations to these characters in purple, we're establishing that purple is unreality as a symbolic color. And so you said that's paired with red, and red being loss of life and death and stuff. So it's almost like you're fusing the color choices thematically of there being a loss that is concealed by slipping into distractions. But I'm just spitballing here. Probably. Okay, so the Sirene can't seduce Verso. It doesn't explain why. Do you know why, though?
I kind of noodled on this for a while, and I couldn't come up with a good reason. But thinking now that we've been chatting and talking that the past Axon was some kind of reflection of Verso, that I'm wondering if this Axon is also connected to him in some way, and that's why it doesn't have the same power over him. So I think, yeah, it sounds like you've got an answer though, Shan.
I have my answer. I wanted to know if somebody had a different answer. But
I do, but not that I can share yet.
Okay. So the Sirene is showing them versions of family or loved ones that were lost and trying to seduce them into slipping into that unreality. But we have learned that that Verso has steeled himself against this line of attack because he says that family is complicated. He's not really connected to them. There's no version of family that it seems like Sirene is able to show him that would trick him.
Well, and Verso's connections are all still alive here. The ones we know he's close to. You have Monoko, you have SKA, and then you have the disaster expedition. And that's really that's the only connections he really has right now.
Yeah. And it could be that, I had considered maybe it's because they're actually alive. But then I had also considered that it was not Lune, it was Ciel saw a baby that never existed. So the Sirene can seduce them with falsehoods that never exist. But so I don't know. But I think that's partial truth. Yes.
Yeah. I do really like the how they frame this scene though, is it's like all of these people, the whole expedition is being shown things that they've lost and that they love and that they miss. You see Noco again, Monoco's holding him, and then everyone sees their parents and spouses or whatever. And then Verso is just standing there in the middle of it, just kind of staring the siren down. And it's this just really badass moment for him where he's just kind of staring down like, you can't fool me. Let's do this. And I like, super cool. Big fan of that, kind of vibe that he's got going on.
Mm-hmm. In the final act of the battle, everybody gets hypnotized except Lune this time. She gets on the Axon's hand by invitation, I guess, and then blasts her to death. So what does this say about Lune's character? Why does she get this moment, whereas Ciel got the previous Axon's final blow? Arguably, although distraught about her parents' death and wanting them back, she's overcoming that pain in this moment as she's defiantly saying the mission is more important and she won't get distracted. It's less an arc because she also has a flat arc, and more a demonstration of her individual strength. This is perhaps a foil to Mael's seduction to stop in the face of grief, as she has tried to do in our previous episode, where right before the Duelise, she thought about turning back because she had just lost Gustave. Now, maybe this Axon is sort of representing fall into unreality. Don't focus on going ahead. Let's stop the expedition. This Axon is representing Mael's character flaw.
Well, and this is also harkening back to a conversation that you had with Lune and Mael earlier, where Lune is talking about how she has used the deaths of the people that have come before as a way to kind of steel herself and to use. And so when the siren kind of tries to use this memory of people that she loves who have died, she's literally talked about before how she uses that as a way to like keep herself moving and to keep herself stronger. And so when the siren tries to do that, she's like, that doesn't work on me. Here, invite
that
me
actually made me better.
I'm gonna it made me stronger, and now I'm gonna stand on your hand and explode your face. And so I thought that was a really smart
setup.
Fulfillment of that. Yeah, it was a good setup from like a few chapters ago where Lune talked about that, and then you get to see that in action right here with the siren. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So we had in the previous episode that we had explained that Mael was struggling with wanting to stop in the paralysis of grief, and Verso was struggling with honesty and dishonesty. Now we are continuing to Act 2, and we are facing Axons that are proxies and representation of Verso and Mael's deepest character flaws. So they haven't overcome them yet, but they are the character flaws that they'll have to overcome in the climax of the game, arguably, because that's how a story works. So we now know definitively everybody else is supporting cast, but we have dueling protagonists with Verso and Mael. And Ciel and Lune are simply foils to the character traits that those characters have to learn from them or from other acts in the story in order to overcome their weaknesses by the end of the story. Anyway, I thought that was cool structurally, but
I just don't have much to add, but I agree.
Sure. So now that we've established these character flaws, and we're by the next episode we'll be getting into the midpoint, because the midpoint is where you show the culmination of character flaws at their worst so that you can then start to punch back up to overcoming those character flaws at the end.
Yeah, do we want to talk a little, because you go back to camp after this boss fight, do we want to talk a little bit about the camp before the next episode? I feel like that's a good setup for what comes next. I mean, I don't know what comes next, but it feels like a good ending point.
Yeah. So back at camp, handing over the second Axon's chroma heart reveals the Faceless Woman again. This gets her to challenge again who the curator is. He instead ignores her and creates the barrier piercing rapier. Lune finally respects Verso and CL was and says that CL was right about him, and they bond over music. Whereas CL and Verso decide to bang each other. Which is
I mean, I guess
super
you
hot.
could say no.
Yeah.
I don't know what would happen in that dialogue situation, though.
It's a very friendly bang, you know. She's just
It's
She's
gonna bang one
got
out.
needs. He's
No
got
strings
needs.
attached.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good that they paired off because she was the foil to his character flaw, whereas now Lune is the foil to Mael. All right, so everybody's favorite part of this camp scene, though. Who wants to talk about it?
I don't have it written down, but the dialogue between or the little text at the end of CL and Verso spent time away from the others. I wish I wrote it down, but it's just very
It's a very PG description
very
of doing
PG
it.
description.
I was just talking about SKA being full of wine, and Verso didn't want to share that fact.
Because of course he is. I love that, like what else weird can we have SKA do? Let's just have him be a giant bladder full of wine, and when you punch his stomach,
nonsense.
he vomits wine up.
Yeah.
It's just
and it's not just a let me pour some wine. It's a just super intense throat sound.
not
effect.
a gentle trickle. It's a vomit of wine. And I love that it just, because I feel like sometimes there can be characters or things or whatever that it's just like, all right, the plot demands this, and so this character can whatever do anything, and sometimes that can feel really cheap. But it doesn't with SKA, and I don't know why, because he's basically just been a plot device. It's like, yeah, I mean, he can run and fly and swim, and he just needs rocks, and sure, he's got wine inside of him, and he knows everything, and he's super powerful, and whatever we need SKA to do, he can do it. And it's just like that. It doesn't feel lazy in this game. Maybe it's just because SKA is so deeply endearing that it is lazy, but I don't care. I just want more of him. But I love that they just we need to have a moment before we go face the Painteress, and we're going to drink some wine and celebrate. Where are they going to get wine? SKA is made out of wine. Perfect. Done. Let's ship it.
I love that when, CL reveals that she knows that, and he's like, I'm sorry. She promised me cool rock, blah, he's in the middle of saying that, and she just punches his stomach and fills up more wine. And I just love that he's kind of in the defensive of what was I supposed to do? She gave me a rock.
She said she'd give me a rock. What was I supposed to do? Not give her all my secrets?
Yeah. After this, Alicia approaches Verso as an aside, and they stare down the monolith. She hands over a letter. He removes her mask and hugs her, and Renoir appears and challenges that this act is faked because he's condemning her to die by going after the Painteress. So Renoir increases the stakes by foreshadowing that there will be consequences for the team if he continues. So he's not actively trying to kill them and stop them because he has allowed Verso to intervene, but he is trying to now use his art of persuasion to stop him and increasing the stakes by, giving us some of this dramatic irony.
Yeah, Renoir has a great line here. So he's heavily implying that facing the Painteress, killing the Painteress will have huge ripple effects that you don't understand, that nobody fully understands. And he has this line where he's talking to Verso and he says, you think you're willing to pay the price, but are you willing to let them pay the price for you? And it's all right, man, damn, dude, just it's what an effective way, because Verso's finally starting to form bonds with these people for the first time in probably a long time. He's gone on expeditions before, but this is he's really starting to open himself up to people again. And so Renoir uses that connection and weaponizes it and says, you're willing to do this. You're willing to pay a price. Are you willing, not just are you willing to let them pay a price? Are you willing to let them pay the price for you? So he's taking this whole thing and he's putting it on Verso and saying anything that happens to the world and to me, to your sister, to the Painteress, to your new friends, that's going to be your fault if you go through with this. And it's just this deeply narcissistic way of trying to control Verso and utilize guilt to make him compliant to what Renoir wants. It's extremely manipulative, and maybe it's true. I don't know yet, but like,
yeah, well, he is kind of establishing that like Verso is still wearing a mask of deception. He is still not telling them the full truth, and Renoir is alluding to something bad probably will happen if you do this to them, and you haven't explained that to them, and yet you're getting them to do this for you anyway. So he is still dishonest. That is going to affect, the journey.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other parts about this section you wanted to share?
I just like Renoir's relationship with the Painteress, how he kind of views her as like this benevolent god, a giver of life, like a painter who creates life and gives beauty. And as a painter himself, Renoir, I'm sure that like there's this part of creation and artistry that he resonates with the Painteress. And so he reveres her and looks up to her and is like, I just think it's an interesting reaction to like this Painteress is killing people every year. But some of the people who aren't being killed, and Renoir takes that to be as like, okay, well, we're chosen and we got to follow this deity or whatever. So I think he's a really complex and interesting character, and I am excited to understand more about what's going on so that I can understand more about why he's doing what he's doing and acting the way he's acting.
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to hear Andy Serkis narrate anything. Hasn't he done book narrations before?
He's done all the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he did all of them. Okay, I thought so.
And The Hobbit and The Silmarillion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Silmarillion? Oh my gosh, that's like bigger than the Bible. That's quite the narration.
And Stephen Fry also did them, right? Or did he just do Harry Potter?
Yeah, but if Andy Serkis did one of them,
but if Andy Serkis
Harry
did it, he's so good at voice acting. It's insane.
The other must-listen Tolkien book that is the audiobook was done by an actor from that series. The book Children of Hurin, which was published posthumously. That one is narrated by Christopher Lee, and that one is I can't recommend that book enough. I haven't listened to the audiobook because I don't typically do audiobooks, but I imagine that him reading that one, if you're a Tolkien fan, Children of Hurin is a great read.
Yeah, I think just like other than just being fantastic at voice acting, so when you listen to like Lord of the Rings, he does voices for everybody. He has very specific inflection and idiolects for all of them. But like, I can't think off the top of my head any other like voice actor who has such precise elocution, right? Like his dictation is flawless and melodic to listen to.
Yeah, he's just got this he's got this deep like graveliness to his voice, but it's also kind of like calming, and he's just got a great voice. Like he's super cool. Also, I met him one time, so that's fun.
Was it at FanX?
No, it was, he wrote a little book about like his experience doing Lord of the Rings, and he did a book signing at like a random bookstore in Utah one time, and I went. Yeah, I don't remember, but he did a scene
like
reading
Tobias
from
Fugke's The Man in Me.
Yeah, but I went with my dad. He did like a scene reading from it, and then he signed a bunch of books. And I didn't get my book signed or anything because the line was crazy and we didn't have enough time. But he walked by and I said, "Hi, I think you're great," and he goes, "Hi," and then kept walking. So I didn't really meet him, but like he was close enough that I could have touched him. He was right in front of me. Yeah.
All right, real quick. Biggest celebrity that you've all met?
I met Donny Osmond one time. I had lunch in his house.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
There's like kind of the FanX like picture
FanX
stuff.
probably counts. If you had a conversation with them, like I had a conversation with Joel McHale recently. Well, like at one of the recent ones he came to. He was a pretty cool guy. He was thirsty for people to watch his show so he could make money. He just
please watch my stuff. Yeah,
please watch it. I need money.
I met Stan Lee one time at Comic-Con.
Yeah,
as well,
we both did. Yeah, that was
yeah,
awesome.
we both did. Yeah.
Longest conversation is probably with Shia LaBeouf's parents when I worked at the airport.
Ooh,
I met a lot
famous.
of celebrities working at the airport, but
I forgot that you worked at the airport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You saw
What's the next game we found?
Steve Carell. You saw it. I think Taylor Swift. I can't remember all the names. You named
What? You
dropped.
saw Steve Carell at the airport?
I did.
I'm so
It's pretty
jealous
cool.
of that. I love Steve Carell.
I don't know, like Katherine Heigl's there a lot because she lives in Utah.
In
or
Park
has a house
City,
in
yeah.
Utah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. There's like a bunch of musicians, like a bunch of people from No Doubt, post Gwen
Cool.
Stefani. So that's not super impressive, but unless I listen to this podcast, then it's very impressive.
They're very cool. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do concerts count? I saw lots of famous people performing at concerts.
You didn't meet them, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, I had a very brief conversation with Chris Evans at FanX one year, and
Yeah, I went to Chris Evans and Haley Atwell photo shoot.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Sean Astin there as well. I met Katherine Heigl when I was in college doing like a fundraiser. I grew up with David Archuleta, so he and I are.
Oh yeah, I met David Archuleta at a party with Lundy one time.
So yeah, there's another one. So he and I text, every so often. He doesn't know it's a competition, but he's just a really friendly guy, and usually the only time we talk every year is he usually texts Merry Christmas before anybody else can, because he's a big Christmas guy.
November
And
1st.
Well, just like on Christmas Day, it's a lot of the time.
Midnight. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so he would send that out, and it became like a kind of a personal quest of mine a handful of years ago, where I was like, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna, so Christmas would come, and I'd try to remember to text, and then he would text me, and Merry Christmas, Lundy, and I'm like, didn't beat him this year, but then I'd respond, and then we wouldn't talk for another year. But one year I finally did beat him, and again, he doesn't know that this is a competition still, unless he's listening. If he's listening right now,
Like, comment, and subscribe, David Archuleta.
Yes. But yeah,
Lundy, why haven't we had him on the show yet? Instant fame. Come on, man.
but
Doesn't seem like
I did
someone who
beat
plays
him
video
one
games.
year, and he didn't respond. And so I don't know if he did know it was a competition and he was upset about losing or something. But the one year that I did beat him, he didn't respond. But he did text the next year. So
Hey,
but yeah.
Lundy, I think I have his phone number, and I'm curious if it starts with 261.
Let's just say it live on the.
I'm not going to share it.
David Archuleta.
He will kill me.
Can we
Justifiably
is this
so.
allowed? Yeah.
No, I got this phone number from somebody in college who also said that she knew him, and I was like, I'm not going to text him, but sure, I have a famous person's phone number in my phone, and I should just delete it. He's probably changed it by now.
Yeah. The one that I have does not have those three numbers in that order anywhere in it.
So not that. I was fooled.
It may have been
Or does it?
back
You'll
in the
never
day,
know.
because he doesn't live in Utah anymore. So
Yeah, it was like 10 years ago that,
yeah. So it may have been his phone number at one point, but that's
Okay,
not.
so I should go ahead and delete that now.
Yeah, that's not the
Or
one.
just get his real number
right
from
now,
Lundy.
let's see who it
Yeah.
is.
But yeah, so he and I text very occasionally, usually just Christmas. Though he did reach out to me when my dad passed away, which was cool. So
Seems like a nice guy.
Stand up, dude.
he's a really great guy.
He's a cool guy.
Archie, that's what we call him. All right, well,
David
Anyway.
Archie. Yeah.
Oh,
just Archie. Just Archie.
Just Archie. Sorry. Yeah. Only for his closest friends like Shan.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please listen to Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays. Mondays now. Sorry.
Mondays now.
Whoa.
Get it right, man.
Oh,
You
my
say
God.
my show, you get the name right.
You get the day right. Damn it.
It's Christina. Are you stupid?
That is one of the most underrated comedy movies of all time.
That's such
I
a
think
good
it's
one.
my
The other
favorite.
guys.
It's so good.
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloopity-blow.